Margie was going to go out with this guy, but on the way over, this guy met another guy in a leather coat, and the guy in the leather coat opened the leather coat and showed the other guy his tits. And the other guy went over to Margie's and said he couldn't keep his date because this guy in the leather coat had showed him his tits, and he was going to fuck this guy. So Margie went to see Carl. Carl was in, and she sat down and said to Carl, "This guy was going to take me to a cafe with tables outside, and we're going to drink wine and talk. Just drink wine and talk, that's all, nothing else. But on the way over, this guy met another guy in a leather coat, and the guy in the leather coat showed the other guy his tits, and now this guy is going to fuck the guy in the leather coat, so I don't get my table and my wine and my talk." "I can't write," said Carl. "It's gone." Then he got up and went to the bathroom, closed the door, and took a shit. Carl took 4 or 5 shits a day. There was nothing else to do. He took 5 or 6 baths a day. There was nothing else to do. He got drunk for the same reason. Margie heard the toilet flush. Then Carl came out. "A man simply can't write 8 hours a day. He can't even write every day or every week. It's a wicked fix. There's nothing to do but wait." Carl went to the refrigerator and came out with a 6-pack of Michelob. He opened a bottle. "I'm the world's greatest writer," he said. "Do you know how difficult that is?" Margie didn't answer. "I can feel pain crawling all over me. It's like a second skin. I wish I could shed that skin like a snake." "Well, why don't you get down on the rug and give it a try?" "Listen," he asked, "where did I meet you?" "Barney's Beanery." "Well, that explains some of it. Have a beer." Carl opened a bottle and passed it over. "Yeah," said Margie, "I know. You need your solitude. You need to be alone. Except when you want some, or except when we split. Then you're on the phone. You say you need me. You say you're dying of a hangover. You get weak fast. I get weak fast. And you're so dull around me. You never turn on. You writers are so precious. You can't stand people. Humanity stinks, right?" "Right." "But every time we split, you start throwing giant 4-day parties. And suddenly you get witty, you start to talk. Suddenly you're full of life, talking, dancing, singing. You dance on the coffee table. You throw bottles through the window. You act parts from Shakespeare. Suddenly you're alive when I'm gone. Oh, I hear about it. I don't like parties. I especially dislike people at parties. For a guy who doesn't like parties, you certainly throw enough of them." "Listen, Margie. You don't understand. I can't write anymore. I'm finished. Somewhere I made a wrong turn. Somewhere I died in the night. The only way you're gonna die is from one of your giant hangovers. Jeffers said that even the strongest men get trapped." "Who is Jeffers?" "He was the guy who turned Big Sur into a tourist trap." "What were you gonna do tonight?" "I was gonna listen to the songs of Rachmaninoff." "Who's that?" "A dead Russian." "Look at you. You just sit there." "I'm waiting." "Some guys wait for 2 years. Sometimes it never comes back." "Suppose it never comes back?" "I'll just put on my shoes and walk down to Main Street." "Why don't you get a decent job?" "There aren't any decent jobs. If a writer doesn't make it through creation, he's dead." "Oh, come on, Carl. There are billions of people in the world who don't make it through creation. Do you mean to tell me they're dead?" "Yes." "And you have soul? You're one of the few with a soul?" "It would appear so." "It would appear so. You and your little typewriter, you and your tiny checks. My grandmother makes more money than you do." Carl opened another bottle of beer. "Beer, beer, you and your goddamn beer. It's in your stories, too." Marty lifted his beer, and he looked up. This big blonde walked into the bar and sat down beside him. "You're right. You're finished. Your material is limited, very limited. You can't write a love story. You can't write a decent love story." "You're right, Margie." "If a man can't write a love story, he's useless." "How many have you written?" "I don't claim to be a writer." "But," said Carl, "you appear to pose as one hell of a literary critic." Margie left soon after that. Carl sat and drank the remaining beers. It was true the writing had left him. It would make his few underground enemies happy. They could step one notch up. Death pleased them, underground or overground. He remembered Endicott sitting there saying, "Well, Well, Hemingway's gone, Dos Passos is gone, Patchen is gone, Pound is gone, Berryman jumped off the bridge. Things are looking better and better and better. The phone rang. Carl picked it up. Mr. Gantling? Yes, he answered. We wondered if you'd like to read at Fairmount College? Well, yes. What date? The 30th of next month. I don't think I'm doing anything then. Our usual payment is $100. I usually get $150. Ginsberg gets $1,000. But that's Ginsberg. We can only offer $100. All right. Fine, Mr. Gantling. We'll send you the details. How about travel? That's a hell of a drive. Okay, $25 for travel? Okay. Would you like to talk to some of the students in their classes? No. There's a free lunch. I'll take that. Fine, Mr. Gantling. We'll be looking forward to seeing you on campus. Goodbye. Carl walked about the room. He looked at the typewriter. He put a sheet of paper in there, then watched a girl in an amazingly short miniskirt walk past the window. Then he started to type. Margie was going to go out with this guy, but on the way over, this guy met another guy in a leather coat, and the guy in the leather coat opened the leather coat and showed the other guy's tits, and the other guy went over to Margie's and said he couldn't keep his date because this guy in the leather coat had showed him his tits. Carl lifted his beer. It felt good to be writing again.